on this
Oh, it's on the
computer.
bottom.
Recording, right. So if I share my screen now,
Yeah, you have to bear with us on the technology
we're
front. Well,
used
particularly me, Oscar's a lot better than me.
we're used to using Teams, Microsoft Teams, so this is a fairly irregular experience for us. So can you see that presentation slide, Kat?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. All right. So if most of you, well, I doubt any of you will know me. I'm Oscar, and I graduated from Liverpool in 2019, so the year before last. I was just going to briefly go through how I came across Civic as a company, what led me to apply and eventually take the offer that was given to me, and then walk through some of the jobs that I've been involved in and the companies involved in across all 4 studios. So if you can see this photo on the left is from Construction Area. I imagine many of you have been on that or will go on that. And obviously here's me in the quad on graduation. So at some point between these 2 photos, I realized that I needed to start looking for jobs. And there's plenty of outlets to go through to find companies that you might be interested in, Grad Cracker and the like. However, I wanted to broaden my search a bit more than that. So I found the New Civil Engineers annual awards called the Companies of the Year, and that's essentially just a list of top companies in a number of different categories. One of those categories is the Trending 20 category, which essentially charts the top 20 companies that are up and coming, small organizations that are performing performing in an interesting and unique manner. We've won that for the last 3 years in a row, I believe. So I looked at Civic through this award, and I came across the projects page. These two projects stood out for me at the outset of my research into the company. You see the public realm work outside Liverpool Lime Street, and below that is Chancery House, which is down by Liverpool 1. I think to the left there is John Lewis. So they were 2 projects that I'd seen firsthand that had stood out to me. So when I found out Civic was involved in those projects, that piqued my interest. So I'm just going to run through very quickly some projects that we've been working on. I'm not going to go into too much detail. What I ask you to do is, if any of these projects, anything in particular interests you about them, if you just pop a question in the chat or save it to the end, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might want to ask. So the first project I'd like to talk about is Rutland Mills in Wakefield. This is a £35 million redevelopment of some Victorian cotton mills. And the exciting, I mean, this is in the construction phase right now, so they'll be working on this today. I've been visiting site fairly regularly, mostly weekly. I mean, obviously COVID has changed that somewhat, but the exciting thing about this is it's a development which is focused on creating a social and cultural centre to Wakefield. Often mill complexes that are redeveloped go simply to flats and apartments. So it's really exciting to be part of something which is going to create and provide a lot of social value to the town of Wakefield. One part of this project that I've particularly enjoyed working on is the chimney sculpture here. Is my cursor visible, by the way? I'm pointing at things. It is. Okay, cool. So this chimney sculpture, the intention is to create a beacon in the central plaza that ties the whole project together. And that was a great opportunity to use Grasshopper. I'm not sure if you're aware of Grasshopper, but it's a tool that's being used more and more in structural design across the industry. And what you're seeing here is an optimization algorithm that I apply to the design of the steel lattice using Grasshopper. From that, I was able to create sketches. These sketches are currently with the Council of Wakefield, and they'll be deliberating on whether or not they're happy with this to go through to the construction stage. Next project is Mayfield in Manchester. It's just down the road from us. And this is a £1.4 billion restoration, regeneration of currently disused land adjacent to Piccadilly train station. We've been involved in the public realm and the structural design of a number of buildings here. Interestingly, so when we were digging up the site, we came across some Victorian baths, which has gained a bit of traction in the national press, which was quite weird to see, as this video was taken by myself a few weeks ago. In addition to the regeneration for offices and flats, we also have the depot, which is adjacent to the site, which we worked on. That's the home of the Manchester International Festival and the Warehouse Project. And again, I can vouch for the fact that it was quite weird to be walking around the depot and the site in my hard hat and high vis, and then seeing Disclosure the following weekend surrounded by 10,000 other people. So it was a quite a cool experience, and a great project to work on. Another thing that you may or may not have heard of is that planning permission has been given for a zip line off Radio City Tower in the centre of Liverpool, and that's going to go to the Central Library. And we are luckily the structural engineers that have been appointed for that job. So again, that's another quite exciting project that we're working on. And I'm hoping what this is showing is the scope and range of the work we do is incredibly varied. So from one day you could be working on a mill, next you could be doing brand new grade A office space, another day you could be working on a crazy zip line in the middle of Liverpool. So this is the final structural project I'd like to mention. This is a project I've been working on for probably about a year and a half now, and it's the first project that I've seen from stage 3 to construction. So this render in the top left is how we're hoping it's going to look. If you follow this flow chart round, you can see the structural analysis model, our Revit model, and eventually the steel work on site. That's incredibly rewarding to see. Myself and a design engineer have been working mostly on this. So to see 800 tons of steel go up after less than 2 years of work feels like a real accomplishment to me. So that's the structural side of things. We also have the transport planning side, and the way that Civic operates is we try and improve cities and towns, and a lot of that involves the political process of convincing and understanding the needs of residents in a particular urban area, and then working with them to try and find a way of improving their local area, and by virtue of that, their lives. So this is a 115 million pound redevelopment of a number of key arteries throughout Glasgow, with the idea of focusing on sustainable urban drainage, encouraging active travel such as cycling and walking, public transport, and just making the place a generally nicer place to be. It's if you encourage people to walk and travel about in this way, you may get a bit of pushback, but we found that the schemes that we've supported and have had massively beneficial reactions. This is an example of the kind of result we're looking for with the Glasgow Avenues project. So you've got a fairly drab-looking underpass. There's a lot of the space dedicated to vehicle transport, and we're hoping to make the environment just a nicer place to be, encourage that active travel, which event is going to have health benefits across the board. Another interesting project is the Climate Innovation District in Leeds, and this is a project we've been working on for quite a few years now, and it's just starting to win awards for us in sustainable urban drainage. The idea of this is it's a net zero development. It's carless. The buildings are all timber frame, and they're manufactured by the Situ company across the river. So the travel embodied carbon costs are next to nothing. And again, this has been a scheme that's had incredibly good reception, and it's something that's been incredibly rewarding to be involved in. In the same kind of vein, there's another project kind of dubbed York Housing. This is a project across York over 7 sites, which again is another net zero development, car-free development. And this is a generally timber frame, masonry clad buildings. And this is the architect that's working on this project is Michael Ritchie's. If you know much about architecture, you'll know that the Sterling Prize is the top prize that the Royal Institute of British Architects gives out every year, and Mikhail Ritchie's won that previously for a similar uber sustainable housing development. This is one of 2 developments we're actually working with on Mikhail Ritchie's. So working at Civic is one of the many great things is you get to work alongside some fantastic architects, and that just allows you to get your point across, be appreciated, and have a level of professionalism that you may not get on some smaller scale projects. So that's a very brief kind of run through of some of these projects. Hopefully one of these projects is of interest to you. So, and if that is the case, just pop a question in the chat or save it to the end, and we'll answer whatever you'd like to know about this. So that's it for me in terms of presentations. I'm just going to hand over to Kat now, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the graduate role itself. So I'll now figure out how to do that. Right, so.
Okay, so I will share now. Just bear with me. Oh, I can't appear to share.
Okay, I'll make you host. There you go. You should be able to do
Oh
it now.
no, don't give me that responsibility. Goodness, it could all go wrong. Right, here we go. Hopefully everyone can see that. Is that coming up?
Yep, got it.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm Kat Jewell. I'm the People and Culture Manager here at Civic Engineers. So work closely with my colleague Caroline Todd, who's the Head of People and Culture. There's the 2 of us in the HR team, and we cover all 4 studios in all aspects of human resources. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background to the company, tell you a little bit about the history of us, how we started, and kind of our vision and values, so you get a feel for what the company is like. So, how it all began. So, a plotted history of Civic Engineers. So, back in 2009 is when our founding directors first started working together. So, Stephen O'Malley on the left there and Julian Broster on the right. They formed their relationship back in 2009 in running a business that they called Stockley Broster O'Malley, and they had studios in Manchester and London. Then in 2000, they renamed it to Civic Engineers in the September, and at that point they had 12 staff. 2014, Rob Westcott and Gareth Atkinson joined as directors in the London studio. And then 2016, the Leeds studio opened in the June with Paul Morris promoted to director, and Paul's now director in our Manchester studio, and that took the staff count to 60, so quite a rapid period of growth. 2017, we had a bit of a refresh of the logo, made it a bit more funkier, and Isla Jackson and Ian McIntyre opened the Glasgow studio in the August, taking the staff count to 80. 2018 is when we first appointed a finance director for the practice due to the size of the business, and James Bruce was appointed as director in our Manchester studio. 2020, we launched our climate charter, and as Oscar mentioned, we have a real focus on sustainability, and the climate charter really just embeds and shows our commitment to sustainability and our impact on climate change. And then Leah Stewart was appointed as director of the Leeds studio, and the staff count was at 100, which brings us to present day, where we've just appointed another director for the Leeds studio, and we're nearing on the 115 mark for the practice as well. So it has been a huge period of growth, and during that time, obviously we've had to change a lot of our practices and the way we operate, but it's really promising that we've been able to do that, particularly given the current climate. So this just gives you an idea of our vision, which is at the top there, and then our values, which are kind of the supporting pillars there. And at the bottom are what we call our foundation statements, so what we're really built on. And these are key words that we kind of work to. So it's reusing, not just using. So not just taking something and building on it. It's actually keeping the character of it and using it in a sympathetic way. Building, not destroying, again, using what we've got and really keeping the history of a place. And we've got a really strong reputation for dealing with historic buildings sympathetically. Exploring, not exploiting, listening and learning, and that fits really well with how we work with our clients and with our colleagues. And creating a lasting legacy. So really putting something out there that's going to have a real impact on people and will be a legacy. So the vision is to be at the forefront of engineering design, creating inspirational structures and places that have a positive impact on the environment and which enable people to lead healthier and happier lives. So it really is about doing things a little bit differently, being quite creative, but also enhancing the way people live and making towns and cities a better place to be. So looking at our values, we have 5 values that we work to at Civic Engineers, and these give you a feel for the behaviours that we really demonstrate across our teams. And I think it is particularly true. So throughout our recruitment process, we will measure on these values, or performance reviews as well. These values are really key. So we are collaborative. So it's really taking a cooperative and a partnership approach. So whether that's working with your colleagues in different studios or different disciplines, or working with your clients or contractors, it's really listening to people and building those relationships. And we are helpful. And I think we do get a lot of feedback from new starters when they join the practice that actually people are really friendly. There's a really supportive environment that's created by the people. And I think this is fairly obvious. So we're ingenious, so we're very intelligent and skillful. So very innovative, we're imaginative, we think of new ways of doing something. So we don't just take the easy route, we'll think outside the box and try new ways of doing things. And I think this value goes hand in hand with engineering. So we are curious. It's that inquisitive nature of, well, why does that? And how does that work? And really thinking and questioning why something does something, or why we should follow that particular route. And we are passionate. So we are very enthusiastic. We can get quite excited, and we have a strong self-belief and really can talk about why we want to do things in a particular way, and really stand up for what we believe in. So in terms of our studios, Adam mentioned at the beginning that we have 4 locations. So Manchester, we are located in Carver's Warehouse, which is located really close to Piccadilly train station, which is very handy. It's a Grade 2 listed building, built in 1806. And is the oldest surviving warehouse in Manchester city centre. And we converted the building into commercial offices and studio space in February 2008. So it's a really nice building to be in. A lot of the original features are still kept, but the beams and the brickworks all exposed as well. So it's a really lovely environment. London's Reed's Wharf as well. It's a beautiful location located on the Thames. So in the summer, it's lovely. You can just stare out and look at the boats. Adjacent to Downing Road's moorings, a listed 19th century warehouse originally constructed to handle the grain trade from North America. So another building with a lot of history behind it. Glasgow, Gresham Chambers, a traditional blonde sandstone building built in 1904 in the heart of Glasgow city centre, so right in the middle of everything there in the city. Tower Works in Leeds is a landmark waterside development in the city centre. It's situated on the canal, again, really close to the train station there, so very easy for moving around the different studios. And its name reflects the 3 notable towers, the 3 towers of Italy. It was founded in 1864 and was originally used to make steel pins for carding and combing in the textile industry. And as the name of the 3 towers of Italy suggests, the design is based on Italian architecture. So, being a graduate here at Civic Engineers, I'm sure Oscar will be able to give you a bit more insight in the Q&A as well about a typical day in the life of graduates. But I think the key thing for us as a smaller practice is that graduates are very much a part of the team from day one, and Oscar can probably concur with this, that you're given responsibilities. You're not just left to do that, but you do have a support network of design engineers, senior engineers, associates, associate directors, but you are very much given your responsibilities. And it wouldn't be just working on a particular element. You would be on a project and you would see that project through its life cycle, as Oscar was sharing in the beginning of his presentation, which is really exciting to see a project come and be completed. And the way we kind of develop graduates is looking at different projects. So once you've completed that one, it'd be looking at a different project that would give you a different skill set that you'd not been exposed to. So maybe working with different kinds of materials or different type of building or urban infrastructure. So it's a very individual approach to developing an individual. So the support that we offer is quite structured. We are very keen on supporting people through chartership, and we have a number of people on that path, including Oscar. We offer study days for exams. So you're given study leave, you don't need to use your holiday. We're an ICE accredited training centre, so we have really close links with the ICE, and we have Leah Stewart, our director, who kind of leads that. Everyone within the practice has a mentor and are encouraged to have quarterly mentor reviews. It's very much driven by the mentee, but it's just making sure that everyone has an appropriate mentor separate to the line manager who can support their career development. And part of that is on the chartership path. And we have really high pass rates, which I think is testament to our team members and the huge amount of effort that they put into it. So we're looking at 95% a lot higher than the average. So it is testament to the individuals, but I think also that helpful approach from colleagues who are willing to share their experiences and the paths they've been down. We have lunch and learns that we do every 2 weeks, and annually we try to do a Routes to Chartership one, where those that have recently become chartered will share their experiences, give hints and tips. And the whole lunch and learn is about building that continuous professional development. It's delivered by people within the practice. So anyone who has an idea can come up with it and can try and get it onto a timetable. It could be something quite technical. It could be professional. So we've had flood risk ones. We've also done professional leadership ones or mental well-being. So there's a broad spectrum that we covered within the lunch and learns, but they're really crucial to making sure that we're continually learning and looking at our development. In terms of benefits, key thing, and it's a very small slide, so apologies if you can't see that, but I thought it's useful just to know some of the benefits that we offer. So we have 23 days holidays per year plus 3 days we shut down over Christmas. So that's really nice, the shutdown between Christmas and New Year. After 5 years, we offer extra holiday. We have enhanced family benefits, so enhanced maternity adoption pay. We have enhanced paternity leave and dependency leave. And we offer 2 weeks full pay for sickness absence. We offer a healthcare cash plan. So it gives 100% cash back on a wide range of healthcare treatments. And as part of that, there's also a 24/7 counselling and support helpline, which is really useful. We have free eye care tests as well. So working on computers on a daily basis, we make sure that everyone can claim back the cost of their eye care tests. And we have life assurance as well, which was paid out to a chosen beneficiary. And then we have a pension scheme, which is a salary sacrifice scheme, and the company contribute 5% of a salary into the pension pot. We also have volunteering leave as well, which is popular across the practice, and that's 2 days paid leave per year to do volunteering activities. So it could be linked to a school, community centre, a charity that you want to work with. So for instance, recently we had one of our team members took 4 half days delivering food parcels to the vulnerable during lockdown. Other people have gone into schools and done lessons within schools and done some school support that way. So it could be anything. And then we offer a week's leave for volunteering activities linked to a recognised charity abroad. So it could be, we had one of our engineers went to Uganda to work on a health and wellbeing centre, and he came back. He was on the construction site, came back and then delivered a lunch and learned about his learnings and what it'd been like for him. So that is a little bit of an overview to civic engineers.
Brilliant.
We can have a look at your questions.
I haven't got a single one yet. I'm sure Adam can start us off.
We've just been so thorough, you see.
Well, I'm only here to sort of encourage students to come along, and you know, you in my summary, you've got your very good double act, and that and what I like about what you said in your company is that some companies come across as a bit too corporate. What I like about what you have talked about is that, you know, you're showing that you're growing in business, but you're not dominating in that. And I like the way that you talk about these other C words, which is a focus on collaboration and curious, and then all the creative and civic stuff. And the students from Liverpool should tune into, so that's your ethos of your company, which I think is very, very healthy and something that should connect the students. The themes that you focus on are also very relevant to student study. On net zero carbon, focus beyond sustainability. Your focus on infrastructure and public realm, which are 2 words I was never taught when I was at university, which are coming more to the fore. And then I like what you're doing on infrastructure projects, where you've got that sensitivity of engaging in public consultation and stakeholder analysis, and showing it's not just the technicalities, it's the environmental and social aspects all together. And I also like your training program you're offering, as well as the portfolio of projects that Oscar has showcased, because getting 95% pass rate in structural engineer, Institute of Structural Engineers is very impressive.
Yeah.
And, but I note that that's not just, you know, through the students going through your diverse portfolio, but you've got an ethos there of support within your company and people sharing what they've got. So your company is, I hear you mentioned a few times you're small, but sometimes smaller companies like yourself who are growing are a good platform for students to join, because so you're able to respond quicker to the market. You're able to, you know, provide students with more responsibility. So I would never sort of downplay small. And in fact, you've grown so much, you're bigger than I thought you were, and you've got, you know, different regions. So altogether, I think it's a very, I'm pleased that Oscar has come to Liverpool University to give the students the opportunity here. So thanks for that again. And to meet yourself, Kat, and see how you've grown, and you've done it in a very strategic way, but still having that ethos of business development, but not letting corporate dimensions dominate. And you're sort of more of what I would say a community collegiate organization that should be very supportive for students to join. So that's my take.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Adam. Thanks very much. I think we've got a few questions now. So if we have a look at that, first one from Faz. How do I apply? But your best bet is to look onto the careers page on our website. I mean, Kat's probably best to answer this question, really.
Yeah, if you send your CV and cover letter, have a look on our careers page on the website as well, because that gives further information, but send your CV and covering letter to recruitment@civicengineers.com, and Caroline and I will pick that up.
Yeah, and you won't have to do any ridiculous online multiple choice questions about what kind of fruit you like or whatever. because
No.
I remember when I was applying, I think I applied to about 40 or 50 different roles. And I think by the end of it all, the assessment centres and the online quizzes and tests, they got on my nerves a little bit. So it was nice. It was nice to go through a process which felt a bit more human. I guess that's one of the real benefits, and one of the things I really enjoyed about working with Civic is it very much feels like a friendly, personal environment, because it's such a small, close-knit group of people. Secondly, we've got
just on that. Sorry, just before you get another question, Oscar, is there a deadline for the application, and should the students mention that they've made the reach out to your event this evening, the sort of thing that maybe helps? So that
yes, please, that would be really helpful. Yeah, if you could put that in. And we're currently doing initial first stage interviews now, so which I'm conducting, which are over Teams or telephone interviews. So I would say if you could get your application in within the next week or so, that would be fabulous.
Great. So Aaron has asked about sustainability. So how much would we be involved in the sustainability side of a project? That's a really good question, and it's something that's absolutely fundamental to everything we do. You could look at the typical drivers and influences of why you would choose a certain design. You've got cost to the clients, the amount of time it takes, the program time to construct it. And then you've got like the complexity and things like that. But sustainability is always part of our design process. It's something we consider from the very start, and has very big impacts on what proposals we put forward. I'm currently in the process of outlining a procedure for standardizing how we calculate embodied carbon. Embodied carbon calculations are something that we do on most of our jobs now. So it's something that is expected of everyone that works with us, and it's just really about focusing on how to make those designs sustainable, whether that's through sustainable methods of construction or the materials involved or the building performance. It's all incredibly valuable and important.
Yeah, and it also has a huge impact in terms of the things we bid for as well. So we are looking more at the sustainability aspects, being smarter about what we're actually considering to take on. Yeah,
that's exactly it. So the next question we've got about the Leeds Climate Innovation District. So some of the methods that we've employed in the Innovation District, we've got timber construction of buildings, and those buildings were constructed, or they were manufactured on a specialist site adjacent to the plot of land. That's going to be the home of Situ is the company, and they're going to base their kind of manufacturing plants in this central location in Leeds. So the transport cost of the building materials is fairly low, and then you have the kind of like the energy performance of the buildings, and then from an urban infrastructure perspective, SUDS is employed across the site, and that has a huge impact on, well, reducing the impact, I should say, of drainage from this plot into the surrounding watercourses, as well as things like reuse, encouraging lifestyle changes, so encouraging active travel, reduction in the necessity for cars. This is going to be the first car-free school is going to be part of this development, which means that basically there's going to be no car parking spaces, and the school is there to serve this community that we're building, and so theoretically there should be no need for cars. I think initially you may have a bit of apprehension from locals about the idea of not having that on the table, but we found that actually once it's actually been put into practice, that people really start to appreciate the change to their lifestyle and the improvement to the environment that they're living in. I think that next one's for you.
Yeah, the next few about summer internships, and yeah. So how many do we normally take on? It's normally one per studio. Well, London actually will take 2 on. So probably looking at 5 internship places. And in terms of what we look for as well, it's people that really demonstrate the values. So are curious, are passionate, helpful, ingenious. We're really looking for that to stand out. And I think within the CV, it's talking, really showing that you have an understanding of the company that you're applying for. So doing your research and talking about key things that the company does really makes people stand out as well. So in terms of the application process for internships, it's pretty much similar to the graduate process. So you would send your CV and a covering letter to recruitment@civicengineers.com. Myself and Caroline will pick those up. We'll screen through. The first stage is a telephone interview or video call with me, which is just an initial chat really to give information about the company, to find out a little bit more about projects that you've been involved in, where your interests lie. And following on from that, if you're successful, it would be an interview with an engineer in your chosen studio. And for the graduates, there is another stage with a director. And there is also a second stage as an intern with an associate or associate director too. We do have a presentation as well that we ask people to do as well. And we normally have a test, but we're not been able to do that now. We've not been in the studio, so we're looking at new ways to adding to our selection process.
So Elliot Ward is asking, how do you see the company developing further in the near future? Well, if you'd asked that question in a few weeks' time, I'd be able to give you a better answer, as we are going to be having a kind of like a large strategy meeting presentation from the founding directors, Julian and Stephen. But from just kind of the general discussions with those in upper management and directors, we'll often have social events where we'll just end up talking about these things, because we're all incredibly passionate and interested in the well-being of the company. And so the kind of impression that I've got from those that are steering the ship per se is that it's about sustainable growth. Because we're a privately owned company, we're not beholden to any shareholders, which means that we don't need to hit any unrealistic growth targets, and so we can really just expand at a rate that is right for us, and that allows us not to overextend ourselves. So I think it's a case of sustainable growth and just really further trying to educate the clients that we work with, other collaborators on the design team, and also the general public about the real value of sustainable developments across urban infrastructure, transport, and structural design.
Yeah, and I think it's the saying is grow smarter, not faster. So we have had a huge period of growth in terms of the numbers of people within the company, and we now need to consolidate our practices to make sure that we are operating in the right way. So there will be growth, but it's sustainable growth and not at pace.
Yeah, I think it is worth reiterating that. It's I've got a lot of friends obviously who graduated the same time as me, and I don't take any pleasure in saying this, but a lot of my friends have really struggled over the last year due to what's happened with COVID and the impact that's had on large multinational corporate engineering firms. There's been a huge amount of layoffs, and I mean, like Adam mentioned, due to the fact that we aren't beholden to stakeholders for rapid growth, and we are expanding at a sustainable pace, and we stick to our values, we stick to who we are. We've actually come out of 2020 with a pretty fantastic year, and 2021 looks to be an even better year with some incredibly exciting projects. I mean, one project that I didn't mention in that presentation is a huge redevelopment of some movie studios down in the south of England. You know, this is probably around £500 million worth of movie studios, which is a huge job for a company of a size of 120, 115 people. So we've got a number of jobs which are not only incredibly exciting to work on, but you know, make me grateful that we have that kind of that the sustainable, even pipeline of work coming up ahead of us.
Audience. So international students. Yeah, I think there is some nervousness sometimes when people don't are unable to sponsor students. So I think the advice I can give is really making your application stand out in terms of looking at what the company is looking for, what their values are. They will mention it within their careers website. So it's really making sure that you are selling the key aspects, that you are the right person for that job, and making yourself stand out that way. Also, talking about extracurricular activities will make you stand out as well. It's that unique selling point. So anything that you've done, volunteering work, or anything that you do at university, and any work experience that you've done that you think really will resonate with what that company does, pick out those key things and use that when you're emailing the company.
So I've got another question about the social aspect of the engineering that we do. This again is a really good question, and it's absolutely key to the success of the projects that we work on, and the subsequent success of projects which are similar to that. So public consultation is incredibly important, not only so that we can understand what the public wants from these large public works projects, but also to make sure that we know whether or not we've done a good job. So with the Glasgow Avenues project, I'll actually just, if I share my, oh, can you make me host again, please, Kat, by the way? If you
Oh,
can.
now you're asking.
Top right on my screen, there'll be, actually no, top right on your screen. No, top right on my screen. If you click the three dots, it should say make host or something.
Oh, yes.
You got it? Okay, bro. Perfect. So so with a scheme the size of the Glasgow Avenues project, we do pilot schemes on a smaller scale. So this rain garden here was something that we did in partnership with Glasgow University to basically do a bit of a test on kind of how the sustainable urban drainage that we're employing, which uses plants in a rain garden to essentially like filter the rainfall runoff from the roads, and also act as interception to attenuate the water that's running off the roads. So we do some small scale testing, and then we also do a lot of consultations. So that's kind of how we gather that information, that big data about whether or not a scheme will be and has been valuable. I've lost my chat now because I'm sharing screen.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I've clicked on it.
So what's next?
So the next one is from Andrew. From the projects involving sustainable housing, such as the York Housing Project, were the designs in line with the, oh my goodness, passive house standards?
Yes.
You mentioned how you work with that.
I was told I was supposed to mention.
This is a real test for me.
Yeah, I was told by Paul, our director, to mention that. I forgot. Yeah, they're all passive house in the Mick O'Ritchie's York housing development, which is pretty cool. I'm not personally involved in that side of the business, so I'm probably not the best person to speak to about that. All I know is yes, it is passive house.
Well, clearly not me.
Yeah. So has anyone heard of the Liverpool zip line? I mean, this was quite a quite an interesting project. I'm surprised it got planning. I'm glad it does. The real test of whether or not we trust each other in the office is if we actually decide to give it a go once it's built. I think you can't get much better of a test than if whether you think your colleagues are capable of their job. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. It's messing with my tech. I don't know how to navigate now. As you can tell, this is not a regular thing for me using. There we go. It's not a regular thing for me using Zoom. It's normally Microsoft Teams. Right.
Yeah, we've got better at that, haven't we? Georgie, with the current situation, are the internships online or still in the studios? Well, it's normally the summer that we do it. I am hoping we can do it in the studios, because what you get from being in the studio is far more beneficial than just those conversations that you have with other people, overhearing different project talk. I think it is really valuable. So we would like them to be in the studio, but obviously we don't know how it's going to be come the summer. So we are very adept at online now. We've got really good communication structures in place for making sure that we have that collaborative vibe still going on and that we're still communicating well with each other. So if it has to be online, we are getting smarter at it.
Jack's mentioned the sustainable living and car-free spaces. So you want to know about how the project connects the residential area to strong transport links. So again, yeah, this is important. I was speaking to Paul, our director, about this yesterday. It's part of the, in order to get planning permission for a project like that, you need to demonstrate to the council that adequate transport provision is provided, and the way you do that is you run transport analysis in relation to local transport links. So in Manchester we've got a lot of trams, and we would do some kind of transport analysis based on how long it would take for you to get to a certain place in the city. There's a phrase that we're using more and more, which Stephen O'Malley, our founding director, is particularly keen on advertising, is 20-minute neighborhoods, and it's something that's becoming more and more prevalent across the design sector in architecture in the UK, and it's essentially it's trying to reframe the idea of what it means to create a sustainable community and sustainable development. And so the idea is that you can provide all of the essential amenities for a community within 20 minutes walking, and that has the benefit of active travel, which improves people's health. It reduces carbon emissions and also fosters a sense of community. So it's really there's many benefits to that, and that's kind of the philosophy and approach that we take with those sorts of projects.
Yeah.
So
is it okay if I ask you a question, if you don't mind? Could you explain, you've made a big play, which I like, of this focus on a studio, which, could you explain what the ethos of that is, the studio focus of your four offices? And also, could you mention a little bit about, and maybe Oscar could talk about his experiences of maybe, do you go on site visits from time to time, meet stakeholders? You're not in the in the office all the time. So could you mention about maybe a typical week, or how the studio complements the sort of engagement outside that location, please?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll just give you a little tour of the studio from my desk. Got a little webcam here. So I
think that the reasoning as well behind it not being an office as studio is that we are creative, and I think it goes hand in hand. This is a creative space, and so by creating that studio environment is the mindset that we are creative, and this is not just churning out work. It's actually an area where creations put together, and there's a lot of creative thinking going on, and having that space to draw and sketch, and that is a huge part as well. We should have said sketching and drawing is a massive part of the company, and it's something that we really try and harness. We've got our own little Instagram page with sketching on, and yeah, we have a sketch wall.
Yeah,
so
what's that called?
like
What's the handle? We need to plug it.
Remember,
Civic,
I don't do Instagram.
Engineers Sketch Instagram. I'm just googling it because I don't know the name of our own Instagram account.
Well, the other things is that because you're in old warehouse locations with big, expansive, spaces, then you can. I like the way you've got your office set up, in that there's no barrier to the senior people.
No, not at all. No.
I'm sure Oscar is, not just creative, but the barrier. If I walked into that, I wouldn't see barriers between people.
No, it's yeah, it's very much and it's no.
Oscar, about senior people in your where you sit, do you?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you were talking about, do I engage with stakeholders and visit sites, and that ties into what you were just mentioning. So this morning I was on a design team meeting virtually, obviously, with architects, the clients, and actually no, it's just the architects and clients, and then Julian, our founding director, and then my line manager, who's an associate director, Richard, and we were working through. The scheme essentially is to create some creative studios in the centre of Manchester out of containers. So it's about a 6 metre high podium structure, bookended by 2 circulation cores with 3 tiers of containers, shipping containers. Each one of those is an individual workspace, and that's a project that I've kind of been asked to kind of like take over the design elements. Obviously, I have fantastic support from the senior engineers, and it's incredibly simple for me to go over to them and discuss what I'm working with them. But essentially, because you can develop that personal relationship with the senior people in your office, it's a lot easier for you to get her trusted, I guess, with projects like this. And so I was able to discuss and talk through the analysis model that I'd put together over the last day with the client in this meeting, which is incredibly rewarding, but also it allows you to really develop your soft skills, as well as your technical skills. So it's something I've definitely benefited from.
Okay, there's a question there from Israel, I think. Yeah.
Yes. How many 2021 graduates? So we are looking for 1 in each studio currently.
How many graduates do we have now?
Oh my goodness, you're asking me.
Yeah.
Well, there is. I'm doing my sums now.
Well, there's about five or six now in the Manchester studio, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's another 5 in London. 2. No, there's 6 in London. 2 in Glasgow, and 2 in Leeds. 18.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you're looking to offer some internships, would be 5, with 1 in each office, but maybe doubling up in London, and a similar number for the graduate positions. Yeah. So basically.
Yeah.
And does Oscar, from your point of view, Oscar as a graduate, I know the training program is really good. What things are you most proud of that you've done, and also what do you get to interact with the other graduates in those offices outside your Manchester location?
Yep. Yeah. So I would say probably there's 2 things that really stand out for me. There's the Chapel Square job in Altrincham, which is currently being constructed. I showed you a picture of the steelwork. That's something that I'm incredibly proud of. To walk around site and see that go up, and not be just a part of a 20-person team working on that job, but it literally just being myself and another guy responsible for 800 tons of steelwork, and then seeing that go up, that was pretty mind-blowing when I went to site for that. And then the second one would probably be the grasshopper work that I've worked on. Civic are really they're really open to people pursuing things that they proactively go after, and so I got interested in grasshopper, and so did a few people in London, a few graduates and a few directors and a few engineers, and now we meet on a bi-weekly basis, and we're starting to employ the use of grasshopper, which is really expanding the capabilities of our structural design. So to kind of play a I would like to think a good role in the adoption of a technology like that with Civic, and really start to see how that's impacting projects like that chimney sculpture in Rutland Mills and Wakefield is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In the current environment, Eris asks, in the current environment, are you having to adapt designs to make them COVID secure? Not really, no. I don't think so. I think the way the biggest impact COVID's had on us is probably our working practices, and in the early phase of the pandemic, the impact it had on construction sites and funding. We experienced an initial dip in projects. So a lot of projects got shelved temporarily, just as there was a lot of uncertainty. But in terms of making places COVID secure, not really. That would more fall to the responsibility of the architects. I think if you were starting to change the structural grid, for example, of a building for COVID secure arrangements, it might end up not being the best idea, considering that we're probably long term hoping to not have to have COVID secure buildings and spaces. You know, especially in the commercial sector, commercial clients are very cost conscious, which is why sometimes convincing them to take sustainable options more seriously can be a bit tricky, but also equally incredibly satisfying, and when it actually does go ahead.
I think actually the COVID year that you've gone through maybe would give greater value to what is a USP of what you focus on, which is this aspect of community, you know, building for community, like your Wakefield project you showed about how it's basically, you know, because usually warehouse developments turn into something, you know, commercial, and what you're focusing on is that sense. So your value of focusing on civic aspects and community.
Exactly.
You know, I think that would come more to the fore. So when your directors talk about the opportunities in this new calendar year, I'm sure there'll be a lot of projects coming out where you would be, you know, one of the companies that people would go to for your investment in that over previous years.
That's definitely that's the hope and the intention, I think,
the
behind.
ambition.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've been here since July 2019, and even in the time I've been here, I've seen Civic grow, and it seems to be growing at this Goldilocks spot where it's a decent rate of growth, and we're taking on more and more exciting larger scale projects and applying the same values that we've always worked with, but also not in a way that's going to compromise the quality of the work that we do, and that's incredibly reassuring.
Yeah, and I think that's our aim, is to really not lose the feel of the company. While we've grown quite significantly, we still want to create that friendly, almost family feel and supportive environment. So we work really hard at trying to keep that communication lines open and keeping the people make civic engineers. So by bringing people in with the same values, really creates that still friendly environment that makes it the enjoyable place to work.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. I was saying, I know it's an hour's up and you're very busy people, so we really appreciate you giving your time, but you do come across as a good double act, and it's really thanks to you both, and very well pitched and very uplifting. And I do agree with you that the company, while it's growing at a pace where you're not losing your personality. That's something that you hold true to your values. And students who are wishing to apply should, as you have said, to the question about internationals applicants, for all applicants should attune their background and interest to your values, so there's an alignment which would grab your interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, Oscar, that you're sensitive to the students doing the revision and exams from next week. So while there's getting applicants in, definitely before the end of this month, you would be available to answer LinkedIn questions. And
yes, yeah, of course, yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name's Oscar White.
Pass over details to the students just to let you know.
Yeah, and anyone's more than welcome to ask me any questions. I think if I'm just going to get anything across to you, kind of a closing comment that you can take away from this presentation is what I wanted to achieve with this was to really outline that there are alternative routes to employment post university. I think often smaller companies are overlooked, and I know from my own experience and discussing it with my old course mates who've worked for much larger outfits, I was never very much suited to a corporate lifestyle, and that's not to say that there aren't people that are. It's just that I think that smaller companies don't often get as much of a look in with graduates, and I hope that if it's not Civic, that you look for another company of similar size and outlook. So yeah, I hope that's useful bit of advice for you all.
I'm also grateful to the students who I know it's a busy time of year because this is the penultimate day of classes before exams. So and the questions were really good, actually. I'm pleased with them.
Yeah, brilliant. Really good.
No, it's great. It's great to have you all, to turn up for this. It's it's good experience for us, and it's something that we're hoping is going to benefit both the students of Liverpool and us as a company. So yeah, I really appreciate taking the time out, especially during this time where you have your exams coming up.
Yes. Good luck with the exams.
Yeah, let's hope that that Adam and co don't throw too many curveballs next week.
No. Look, mine's just coursework. The exam.
Oh, right.
Next semester. But what I was going to say is that grateful for your time, and if you want any follow up, just contact me directly anytime. And if you can pass on the video anytime, Oscar, then I'll forward it to 2 or 3 students who are genuinely interested, but just had a little commitment to see.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I really appreciate you helping set this up, Adam. So thanks for that.
Nice meeting you, Kat. Thanks very much.
All right.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you all.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.